Hello everyone, I'm Will Ryan. Maybe you've been in the same position as me at some point. You've gone through all your anime, you got nothing left. You've exhausted all your options. You're looking for something new, and so you kind of reach out into the dark, kind of somewhere at random, hoping to find a gem that no one else has. But then, unfortunately, you find out the sad truth that there are a lot more turds hidden under rocks than gems. Does that analogy even make any sense? Like, why would poop be hidden under a rock? I don't get it. To tell the truth, I think it's all too common that so many of us have reached elbow deep into the darkness only to pull out regret and sadness. Wow, that got really dark, man. Like, way too real. What the hell? Today I'm gonna do my best to help you avoid these mistakes with 25 of the absolute worst anime that no one should ever watch. Now, ultimately, these are my opinions, keep that in mind, so it'll be up to you whether or not to find these and see if they're worth the risk. But the answer is no. So let's get it started. These are 25 of the worst anime no one should ever watch. Coming at ya.
Number 25. Clannad, the motion picture. Probably the least offensive entry on this list is Key's initial attempt at adapting their best visual novel ever. Sadly, the film never amounts to more than a messy Cliff's Notes-esque slideshow that can never and will never live up to the two far better series that came just a few years later, with Afterstory commonly rated as one of the all-time greats. Watch it if you're feeling exceedingly curious, but there's no reason to when you have an infinitely superior edition at the tip of your fingers. Number 24. The Neon Genesis Evangelion English dub. I've never been the type of guy to weeb myself into a flame war over subs versus dubs, but this one is special. The original Eva series doesn't exactly hold a special place in my heart, but the thing that killed it for me for sure on my first time watching the show was the abysmal English dub.
So, Shinji Ikari, we meet at last.
Yeah. Those batteries. Isn't that, theft?
Command of this operation is being entrusted to you. Don't betray our trust.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ikari, we've already seen that our weapons seem to have no effect on these things. That's why we're giving you a chance.
You guys hear this, right? A box of rocks has more acting cred. The lines are very poorly translated and were directed in a time where matching lip flaps reigned over all. Needless to say, the results are terrible. So, if you're looking to watch Eva and see what all the hype is about, definitely stay far, far away from this misguided fool's errand and stick with the subtitles. You'll thank me. Speaking of which... Number 23. Evangelion, you cannot redo.
So, full disclosure, I freaking love the first two movies of the Evangelion rebuild. I think the first film was a great way to bring new fans to the universe without really rocking the boat too much and scaring old fans off. Then, the second film took big risks that paid off in great creative ways. I think it's one of the best anime films I've ever seen. So how the hell did we get here?
Evangelion 3 is a complete mess. It's to the point where I have no idea who this film was even for. You'd think that the entire reason for rebooting this story 16 years after the fact would be to bring in a new audience. Well, to those people, the filmmakers apparently wanted to say, good fucking luck!
We'll take it upon ourselves to rewrite Seele's script. The time has come to revise the covenant of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Longinus and Cassius. Removing them requires 2 souls. That's the only way they can even be retrieved.
Did you follow any of that? Well, I didn't, and I watched all 3 of these movies back to back when this one finally made it to the States. And the entire movie is like this. Shinji has no idea what the hell is going on, and neither do we. No one will tell him anything, even the people who desperately need him alive, so we, as the audience, are also told nothing. Then characters, and I use that term loosely, start throwing out all sorts of nonsense terminology they read in the Bible once, and everything goes out the window. I don't even think the movie has a plot in that there's no cohesion or coherency. The best way I can describe it would be events occurring in sequence. But that's what every single mundane day of my life is, and none of those should be made into movies. Just, I don't know, read the summary on Wikipedia or something if you're intent on sticking with this series. You'll save yourself way more time, and you won't be pulling your hair out when you're done. Number 22. F, A Tale of Memories and A Tale of Melodies.
Who doesn't love Clannad, am I right? I mean, have you seen Clannad? It's freaking awesome! So now, it's time for us to talk about an infinitely worse story.
I've already done an extensive 25 the Hard Way review of this series on our YouTube channel, so I'll just cover the big points here. Do you think the irrelevant, minuscule events that cause relationship drama in high school are worthy of high drama? If not, thank God this show is not for you. F turns the most fleeting conflicts with the gravitas of the Normandy invasion because, well, sure, that makes sense, right?
You really did. You ditched me at Christmas to spend time with that girl, Miyako Miyamura.
If the most hyperbolic soap opera ever written is what you're looking for, seek help. If you're looking for a quality romance or slice of life series, you're much better off with Clannad or Canon. But if you're looking for mind-bogglingly ass-backwards morality, no likable characters, and the most overbearing art style anime has ever seen, then I guess, fuck off. Number 21. Sword Art Online.
You knew we'd get here. You had to know this one was coming. But I'll explain myself a little bit. It is this low on the list because it's not one of the worst ever or anything even close to that. But I decided to add it simply because I have spoken to a lot of fans of this series, and not a single one of them has even attempted to make the modest claim that it's good.
When the best anyone can say about the first season of Sword Art Online is that it's okay with hesitation in their voice, you should probably have second thoughts. But if you don't, then the moment you step foot in Season 2, you'll realize the depth of your error.
Actually, sir, speaking of family, if I may, I'd like to make it official as soon as possible. In case you're curious, her father and I were discussing her marriage to me. She's always hated me, ever since we were kids. Neither my parents nor hers know that. If I proposed and she could speak, I'm pretty sure her answer would be no.
I have never had a single person try to defend the second season of Sword Art Online, and that's very telling. Why in the world would I want to watch half a story? Why would I invest a full season of my time just to rage quit one episode later? I don't know. So unless you already have, don't bother with this one. The journey is not worth the toll. Number 20. This Ugly Yet Beautiful World.
Man, Gainax has put us through some shit, haven't they? I mean, it started off with Evangelion, then Gurren Lagann, all the way up to that friggin' panty and stocking finale. This, ladies and gentlemen, might be their very worst. Simply because it's such a colossal fucking waste of time.
I'm sure, buried somewhere in the desert of time, there were good intentions behind this product. Wait, no, I'm not.
Look out, that's going to...
You know, people's feelings are kind of like that ice cream. They just start moving on their own. I guess you can try to make them stay put, but that usually ends up doing more harm than good.
This Ugly Yet Beautiful World is supposedly about an angel that gives a boy the power to transform into a giant beast, but this is only true whenever the show manages to shake itself out of its fever coma for a few moments now and again. It fails as an episodic fluff series, it fails as a show with an overarching plot, it fails its story and characters, and it even fails at living up to Gainax's mediocre standards. It switches from pointlessness to serious drama to outright stupidity with all the grace of a deer trying to go to the gym. I don't have a recommendation to replace this series other than maybe a blank TV screen. Or really any other anime you can think of that's not on this list. Trust me, there are plenty. Number 19. Code Geass R2.
This is a tricky one. See, I would definitely recommend the first season of Code Geass. It's a freaking awesome show with a damn good story. They took a lot of risks, went to dark places, and it all paid off. The problem is that it's not the whole story.
I feel that the universe owes me an explanation for why Code Geass R2 is ranked above Cowboy Bebop and Spirited Away on Anime News Network. Have you people lost your fucking minds? R2 is a disaster of studio meddling, pathetic writing, one-dimensional characters, and MacGuffins stacked to the ceiling being bowled over by Deus Ex Machina. Is it one of the all-time worst? Perhaps not, which is why it finds itself so low on this list. I mean, the art and animation are still fantastic, just as much as they were in the original series, but that certainly doesn't make it good. Pretty animation notwithstanding. If you're going to watch Code Geass at all, pretend Season 1 ends with Lelouch winning and save yourself the monumental hassle. But if you do watch it like a moth drawn to the flame, like I did, please, for the love of God, don't upvote it on ANN. Stop the injustice. Stop it now. Number 18. Hibine Renmei.
Well, not much to say about this one, really. Mostly because the anime doesn't have anything to say about itself.
Hibine Renmei on paper sounds like a great series. The premise is creative and complex. In fact, I bought it simply because it sounded so great. The problem is that the series itself is as thin and weightless as the paper it's good on. I would argue, and have argued, that the show actually has no plot. It barely has characters and somehow can't get around to exploring the world it creates. It's like buying a dozen eggs and talking about the delicious breakfast you're gonna have, only to come home and stare at your refrigerator for 5 hours. Why would you do that? I have tried to understand this series. I even watched it twice. It wasn't worth it. It accomplished nothing. There's nothing the writers are actually trying to help you understand. There's actually nothing to understand. Yes, I will happily say this. Hibine Renmei, not even once. Number 17. Hellsing.
How do you guys take your over-the-top bloody ultraviolence? Do you like it fun or serious? When someone's head goes flying end over end, do you prefer to laugh or be disturbed? Well, if the answer is that you like it entertaining and well-produced, Hellsing is not for you.
For the sake of our own good, we should admit something going forward. Hellsing is a really silly story. It's about Dracula being called Alucard and people pretending like he's not Dracula for no reason other than silliness. It's about vampires being attacked by Nazis. Again, silly. It's very clearly a story with a high degree of self-awareness used to add oomph to its execution and makes for exciting battles and some genuinely entertaining ultra-violent schlock. It knows what it is and isn't ashamed of it. So who would ever, in their wildest dreams, think a story like that should be taken seriously? Damn it, Gonzo, just damn it. If there was going to be a studio that could possibly fail a series, Gonzo would be it. Or maybe Dean, but Gonzo for the sake of this description. Naturally, the original Hellsing series is stone serious. None of it is ironic or even slightly comedic. No, Gonzo wants you to take microchip computer vampires completely seriously. I am not making this shit up.
Humans creating vampires. What do you think that says about the world we've created, Alucard?
Throw in, Piccolo in a trench coat, genuinely awful art and animation, along with a tone-deaf score, and you have yourself the makings of, whatever the opposite of a classic is. Shit? Is that it? Shit? Okay. You have yourself the makings of shit. Luckily, we now have Hellsing Ultimate, which nails what Hellsing should be on every level. So, if you are interested in the many murders of Alucard and the Hellsing organization, you now officially have no reason to resurrect this fossil. Unless you're really that in love with the Hellsing mythos, then why not, if pain is your thing? Number 16. Sin, the movie.
Remember those action movies of the 80s? Classics like Commando, Bloodsport, and Predator. Man, those were great, weren't they? Well, unfortunately, Sin the movie is everything those weren't. And less.
Sin the movie is one man's quest to compile every single 80s and 90s action cliche into a single film. In the future!
All the way to the year 2000.
There's some kind of parasite or alien or kind of whatever the movie wants it to be that is killing off people in the city of Sin because holy shit, this movie is so bad.
It's so bad.
No, shut up. Imagine the most generic Blade Runner imitation crammed with buddy cop tropes, cheesy villains, convoluted plans, excessive violence, and oh my god, a big monster, and you've got this film. It's the first all-around bad entry on this list and a complete waste of your time. Stay far, far away from that goop. Number 15. Rumbling Hearts.
Back when making porn games into everyone-friendly anime became a thing somehow, an executive somewhere decided to reach deep down into the trash bin and pull out one of the most morbidly depressing soap opera disasters of all time and make it into a show. Of course.
Rumbling Hearts is, quite possibly, the worst romance story ever told, at least in anime form. It's the story of two people who could not have less chemistry getting together through rape, then treating each other like garbage and sleeping around, only to get back together at the end. I know, charming. Yeah, that's oversimplifying it, but what else do you really need to know? If you really want all the nitty-gritty details, check out our 25 the Hard Way review for the entire thing. Otherwise, take my word for it. This one is not for anyone. Number 14. Shigarei, Death Frenzy.
Remember what I said about the whole serious ultra-violence thing and how it made Hellsing pretty crap? Well, let's talk about a series that has absolutely nothing else to offer. An entire show of nothing but endlessly disturbing scenes that accidentally ascend to the height of cruel hilarity. Because yeah, that's what I'd love to do with my weekend.
Shigarei is one of the most stunningly awful series I've ever seen. Technically, the story is about two samurai who end up mangled and facing off with each other in a fight to the death. In actuality, that never happens in the story, and the only thing that does occur is the mangling. Well, gee, I can't wait.
This is what a real sword would do to those men. This is it, my lord.
And that's only the beginning. Prepare for incest, rape, nipple eating, dick smashing, mouth slashing, bloody birthing, and pretty much anything else your twisted mind can conjure. All for the purpose of convincing us that feudal Japan was terrible. Oh yeah, and it's stupid. If Shigerai wasn't intent on being the most serious show ever made for really reals, maybe it could be enjoyed on an ironic, darker-than-black comedy level, but unfortunately, there's no joy to be found anywhere. It's just a miserable series with no redeeming value. My recommendation? Slice it in half and suck the blood out of its face. Wait, what? Number 13. Tekken, the motion picture.
You know what? I take it back. Maybe you should actually watch this one. Unless you actually like Tekken at all.
Tekken, the motion picture, is everything a terrible video game adaptation is and much more. The peerlessly awful English dub is audible laughing gas, and the poor animation is little more than an actual joke. The score, changed for a stupid American audience, is garbage. That said, it's still barely worth it on that level. The movie is a boring slog that only serves up one meal for the duration of your stay. Incompetence surprise. You will not believe just how much a single film can do wrong before seeing Tekken, so maybe, just maybe, you don't really want to.
Oh, fuck off, you fat wanker.
Okay, fine, do what you will. Just don't blame me if you're not satisfied. You clearly weren't meant to be. Number 12. Mars of Destruction.
You know, a funny thing happened with this one. I read all sorts of comments and reviews from people saying that it was one of the absolute worst of all time. So I looked it up on YouTube and I found that it was only like 20 minutes. So I thought, 20 minutes? That can't be that bad, can it? Yes, it absolutely can.
Anime News Network calls Mars of Destruction an OAV. Personally, I'm not quite sure how that acronym could possibly stand for failed pilot.
All the way to the year 2000.
But hey, Japanese is a weird language, right? Many people have called its director, Yoshiteru Sato, the worst anime director of all time, and I think I can kinda see where they're coming from. I don't even know how to accurately describe this episode of mediocrity, but here goes. There are these Guyver enemies over here, and these girls fight them with guns. Well, not competently, but luckily there's this guy in armor who shows up to get his ass kicked. But oh hey, he killed them too, so he won the war of attrition, right? Right? God, I hate this. Then the guy in the armor has to be a whiny Shinji composite, and the first fight scene repeats itself, but with a really big gun this time. The huge twist of the whole thing is that these super violent terrorist aliens are apparently the real inhabitants of Earth, and the humans are hostile insurgents from Mars. Shock, gasp! I'm not sure how I was supposed to get around to caring when I was so distracted by the horrible animation, plagiaristic characters, and terrible dialogue, but that must have been the goal, right? To make us care?
Well, I don't, and neither will you. Next!
Number 11. Skelter Heaven.
At the very least, Sato must have learned a little something before he made Mars of Destruction. I mean, not anything substantial, maybe just a little tiny shred, but he still must have taken something away, because his previous work, Skelter Heaven, is so much worse.
Skelter Heaven is like a case for the death of anime. I'm just gonna show you this short scene here, and you tell me if you have even a shred of an inkling of what the hell is happening. I mean, you saw that, right? I didn't mess with that footage. That's the actual episode. It is literally the worst editing anyone has ever seen. However, the premise is the truly horrifying part. See if you can figure out why. This military, run by men only, are making synthetic soldiers to fly giant robots against invading golden sky tentacles or something. Instead of building huge hulking man mountains or super intelligent computer people, though, the man-led military instead chooses to create barely competent cutie girls with big boobs who then wear almost nothing into combat. If I have to explain to you exactly why this is messed up, you can go fuck yourself. To make matters worse, the show apparently becomes self-aware and aborts itself in the closing minutes, as all 3 remaining girls are brutally killed just after one of them hilariously confesses her love for her commanding officer, who is then fired. And the final shot is of an army of golden mega tentacruels or whatever showing up to wipe out mankind. Speaking of which, how much did this hilariously awful CGI cost? $3? Even for the early 2000s, this is unbelievably bad. 20 minutes, people! 20 minutes! I need some booze.
Okay, everyone, this is it. This is where the rubber meets the road. We probably had a lot of fun talking about silly, stupid anime that try to pull shit on you. But there are 10 reasons why this video is called the top 25 worst anime no one should ever watch, and they're each and every one of these entries to come. So if you're at all squeamish, I recommend you turn the video off now and perhaps save yourself some of the trauma that the rest of you will experience. For those of you still with me, congrats on your huge brass balls! Let's do this shit! Top 10 time!
Number 10. School Days.
Yep. School Days is number 10. This is gonna get bad.
Hopefully, for your own sake, you only know of School Days and its overblown infamy. Ideally, at most, you know what nice boat means in this context and nothing more. But for those of you who have actually watched this nightmare to wear as some kind of weird badge of honor, I am so sorry for you and your closeted masochism. School Days is absolute garbage. It's a story of a shitty high school shit who treats his girlfriend like shit and sleeps with other girls because he can. Yeah, he's a real shit. The original visual novel pretty much revolved around the same type of story, with numerous bad, violent endings. However, none of them even come close to the show's conclusion. Speaking of which, why would you want to conclude your anime with a bad ending? I mean, it's anyone's guess, but there were no murdered babies or decapitated heads in the visual novel, so at least there's that, right? As with many, many other entries on this list, this show just isn't worth the runtime. Just watch the stupid ending on YouTube and save yourself the hours. Number 9. Violence Jack.
What is Violent Jack, really? You know, I've thought about this for quite a while now. I even considered not reviewing it, but I'm not that big of a dick. Instead, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Crap.
Violence Jack, as far as I've been able to discern, is a grimdark edgefest full of violence and exploitation, topped off with abstract imagery that no one could hope to possibly understand without demanding answers from the show's creator. Which people actually did because no one could figure out what the fuck was going on! The manga was probably a lot clearer, but that's been out of print for the majority of my lifetime, so let's just forget about it. Basically, this is the continuation of the creator's previously shit series, Devilman, but in the most vague, unhelpful, out-of-this-world way possible, and it does not help that the series ends after the 3rd episode before anything could even start to be explained. Let me save you the 2 hours and give you this little nugget. This badass samurai guy here, the Slum King, the arch villain set up to be Jack's ultimate challenge, they never fight. No, it doesn't happen. In fact, the final credits roll just as it's about to happen, which isn't much better than the end of the 1st episode, which sees Jack get struck by lightning and then the next morning suddenly transformed into a golden bird. A fucking golden bird! Yes, this happens, and you never find out how or why. So sure, go watch it. Or don't. You figure out what the smarter option is. Number 8. Boku no Pico.
No.
Number 7.
You know what? I don't like sexualized children. And if you're not some weird pedo asshole, you won't either. I don't want to watch a show that ends with 3 little boys having a threesome on top of the Tokyo Tower. Why the fuck is this even on the list? It's a goddamn hentai. Jesus Christ.
Number 7. Wicked City.
Well, there you go. The list maker has been sacked. You're very welcome. So, what do we got next? Oh, fuck off. Nope.
What would you do after making one of the most iconic anime films of all time? How about take a huge shit? Well, I think we would all find that pretty satisfying, but I don't think most of us would pull that pile of feces out of the toilet and try to sculpt it into a film. Unfortunately, Ninja Scroll director Yoshiaki Kawajiri couldn't resist the temptation. Wicked City is what happens when someone loves Blade Runner but doesn't know how to write a script around the concept that isn't Blade Runner. What you end up with is yet another ultra-violent 90s trash film with a stupid, nonsensical story. The film can be appreciated as art while on mute, with horrifying monster designs and fantastic animation, but the moment you turn up the volume, the pain begins.
She is one of the other sides, after all. And in spite of that beautiful puss, know why so many men are still willing to put their heads in the lion's mouth? Well, how about them, cabaret playmate? Boy, without me, there'd be no peace ceremony. Finito!
Jeez. Who asked for a goblin escort quest movie? I sure as hell didn't. The film is so obnoxious and grating that it defeats itself and becomes a bumbling misadventure completely at odds with its own tone and atmosphere. It ends up being a frustrating, boring mess with a whole bunch of violence left over that's just kind of there. Just watch Ninja Scroll again if you want it done right, and avoid this overpriced, out-of-print rhino poop fossil with all your might. Number 6. Gantz.
Well, guys, this one's gonna be easy because nearly everything about it is repulsive. Hell, you can tell from the very first episode exactly where it's going. That's one thing it actually does right. You can tell up front every reason why it's terrible.
Gantz is a disgraceful mess that shows just how cynical and heartless people can be. And by people, I mean the writers, of course. Nearly every character introduced throughout the majority of this series is worthless for one reason or another. They're either a deplorable scumbag, a simpering coward, or they die before you can dredge up a reason to care. From the word go, every single human present in reality is presented as a disgusting wretch who looks down on everyone else and only thinks about themselves. This includes our protagonist, Kei Kurono, who is also a hyper-pervert who can't handle being in the presence of girls without breaching his pants. Despite this, he actually thinks he's better than everyone and spends numerous episodes criticizing and spitting bile at every character in the series that attempts to do anything good. Don't you just love him?
No, God!
Then a girl shows up, with huge boobs flopping in the wind, of course, and what happens? One of the guys immediately tries to rape her. Because that's reasonable, right? Hey, a woman, I gotta fuck her in the hallway. Better hurry while she's still barely conscious. The rest of the series is a gory mess with nothing of value to offer. Again, this is something you'll notice from the first episode, when the main character's being run over by a train causes inexplicable double decapitation because it's more bloody and violent. Oh, and the animation is terrible. Studio Gonzo hard at work yet again. With a near endless stream of disgusting, awful characters, you get beaten down to a state that's as far as possible from enjoyment on any level. Just do yourself a favor and stay as far away from this thing as possible. Number 5. Pupa.
When the history of horror anime is written, Pupa will not make the record books. It will instead go down with the likes of Sallow as one of the most vile stories ever put to film. My God, I actually watched this.
Is incest a selling point for you? What, no? Okay, then how about incestuous sexualized violence? Still not good enough? Okay then, how about underage incestuous sexualized cannibalism? You want a tall glass of infanticide with that? How about a side of child torture? Are we checking all your boxes yet? I don't know what abhorrent trauma or drug abuse the people behind this show went through, but as my final word on the subject, I'll mention the overtly silly comedic ending that bizarrely tries to trivialize everything happening by making it all look silly. Do yourself a huge favor and don't even Google this thing. Then thank yourself for deciding not to. Man, this is some serious shit. Number 4. Dance in the Vampire Bund.
No. Okay, fine. I know I'm not getting away with that again, but seriously, Japan, stop sexualizing children! Stop it!
If you could point to a single example for why Japan has been classified as an international child pornography hub by the US Department of Justice, it would be Dance in the Vampire Bund. Because this isn't some tucked away hentai like Boku no Pico, it was a televised mainstream series. And how bad was it? Well, Funimation initially refused to release the series uncut, an unprecedented and unrepeated move. But thanks to a disgusting fan pressure and a multitude of depravity, the series was eventually released in an uncut format. However, the majority of the English voice cast and crew, once they found out what they were actually involved with, requested that their names be removed from the product completely out of fear that it would damage their reputations. To this day, none of them are officially associated with the product and don't list it on their resumes, even though their connections have been revived elsewhere on the internet. As for the show itself, I just can't, guys.
The sexualization of underage animated characters in Japanese media is considered legally acceptable for one reason, and that is because the boys and girls are drawn with the proportions of adult men and women, regardless of their arbitrarily assigned age, whether it be 15, 16, or whatever. They're not drawn like children that age, and that makes it okay, much like how here in the United States, actors that are 25 to 30 years old will portray high school students. But you can't then turn around and sexualize a fucking child and hide behind some random arbitrary age number that you add to her. You can't say, oh, well, she's thousands of years old, so that makes it okay, you see? No, it fucking doesn't. Does the age matter or not? You can't have it both ways.
Dance in the Vampire Bund breaches every possible line of good taste in ways that accomplish nothing aside from revulsion. If you want vampire shows, watch Hellsing Ultimate or Shiki. Just don't bother giving this one a peek. It will not be worth it. Number 3. Samurai Gun.
So, how do you outdo kitty porn? Twice? Well, by turning every female character in your show into either kindling or a torture toy. Hooray!
Enter Samurai Gun, possibly the most misogynistic anime ever made. And not in the Tumblr buzzword sense, but in the this show hates all women sense. Nameless female characters are repeatedly sexualized simultaneously with their torture, beating, or even outright execution. Every other female character is either too worthless or competent to matter because this show is all about its generic, unlikable men, you see. This reaches a ridiculous low when an entire harem of a dozen mistresses resolve to kill themselves instead of, attempting to overpower the 3 total men that have taken their compound and are incredibly disorganized. They even decide to do this before searching their cell, as it is immediately revealed to the dumbest characters ever written that there was an escape hatch in the floor the whole time. But even then, instead of all flooding out and subduing the one guard protecting their cell while the other 2 are distracted by the titular samurai gun, they are all so worthless that they stay behind and send the dumbest one of them to immediately get captured. Between the main character's sister, who is raped and murdered before his eyes as a child, and this woman, who gets wrapped in spandex and gifted with a ball gag just before being shot to pieces by a Gatling cannon, you've reached the depths of disgusting refuse. And all of this is portrayed with some of the most inexplicably lazy and terrible animation you've ever seen. Just don't buy this show. Don't even pirate it. Just forget you ever heard about it. God knows I'm still trying. Number 2. Reign the Conqueror.
I don't really know what to say about this series on a critical level or anything else that would take less than 2 hours, so instead, I'm just going to describe what happens in this series to you as best I can. Despite this, you'll probably think I'm exaggerating things or making them up completely along the way, but trust me, this is all real. Every last bit of it.
Reign the Conqueror is supposed to be about Alexander the Great. It was even written and directed by a Japanese historian who previously published multiple texts on the ancient ruler. If I did not confirm these facts myself, I would not believe them. Before you can get to any story, you must sit through a 4-minute music video montage of events from the series. No credits, no original animation, just 4 completely wasted minutes. Every single episode. This is then followed by a terrible early 2000s CGI English opening that vomits the entire plot of the series in your face against a cyber world backdrop that doesn't actually exist in the show. We are only off to the best of starts. Next, we are introduced to Alexander, who can more accurately be called Prince of Prince, since he is almost never referred to by his actual name. Every single character instead calls him Prince, or most of the time, the Young Prince, even to his face. The art style is a bizarre mess from the Korean crew that animated Aeon Flux, with every single character wearing as little clothing as possible, even when battling their enemies. The point at which I could take no more of this historian's Alexander story was when it was revealed that Prince of Prince was the product of the unholy union between his witch mother and a fucking snake brought to life through a demonic ritual. Yes, again, this is real. The series was so bad it was canceled outright, even with every episode already completed, and the English dub was discontinued halfway through, only to be revived several years later with a completely different voice cast for the second half. It's no surprise that this series continually resides in the bottom 10 of ANN's total rankings. Even though it must be seen to be believed, trust me when I say, not everything is worth believing in. And the number 1 anime no one should ever watch is...
I really don't want to talk about this. Not again. If you want to see a real detailed breakdown of the series I'm about to reveal to you, click this vague annotation below. It'll take you to our full detailed review from the last season of Animerica. Right now, all I can offer you is my best attempt at a summary of the series. Hopefully I'll get that far. I might just completely lose my mind instead. Well, let's do it.
Number 1. Gilgamesh.
So, what makes this the worst anime I've ever seen? Well, mainly, it's because that nothing could possibly exist that's worse. Yeah, maybe other series are more disturbing or more inept in one way or another, but none of them made it as long as this did. Pupa was like 40 minutes. Mars of Destruction, Skelter Heaven, 1 episode each. This made it 26 episodes! I don't even know how that's possible, but my god, this series somehow exists. And it is the king of horrors.
Gilgamesh has absolutely no redeeming qualities. The art is a grayscale disaster with virtually no color to be found. The animation barely exists, with every corner cut to produce a product as stilted as humanly possible. Shots are repeatedly reused and plastered over each other with no care given. Numerous shots are edited together with no regard for consistency or continuity at all. All of this visual ineptitude is complemented by one of the laziest musical scores ever imagined and a dour, lifeless, depressed voice cast presumably put in front of a mic after a week of no sleep or food. Finally, on top of every single technical failure that I could list, the story is all about incest.
Fucking no! Again!
The main characters, Tatsuya and Kyoko, are brother and sister. This is a fact. They were born from the same womb. Yet their entire plot is all about them being in love and coming together at the end. Despite everything wrong with this, the characters constantly joke about it, and it's presented as something that's totally normal and fine. The show later tries to pull an excuse out of its ass near the end by saying that they're both clones of people who were in love with each other in their previous lives, but that's not fucking good enough. If you grow up and fall in love with your own sister, you are fucked in the head. It is not okay, acceptable, and normal. Add in scenes of rape and attempted forced abortion, all leading to an anticlimactic non-ending plagiarized from Evangelion and The Ring, and you have an anime that no one, anywhere, at any time should ever see. Not even for the sake of staring at a train wreck. The cost is far too high.
Whew. That certainly was something, wasn't it? Well, if you've got an anime you want to save us all from, tell us about it in the comments below. Very soon, I'll be back to tell you guys about 25 awesome anime that you probably haven't seen or maybe even heard of. Till then, I'm Will Ryan. Stay skeptical.